morning from the majestic, magical mountains of Panama. There's tons of life going off down here. Okay, we're live now. From the magic mountains of Panama. There's tons of life going on down here. In fact, this is just the day after Good Friday, right? Just this whole area out here is full of this type of fly that comes in these waves and takes on these large extreme biological agendas, right? The moon matters as biodynamic agriculturists down here that are very dedicated to mental toughness, training to the truth, to finding out how things really work and how to ecologically and physiologically and metaphysiologically enhance our experience and the life around us, both mammal and botanical and reptile, right? And we get into super nutrition as prescribed by nutritionaldiversity.com, because this is going to enhance our physical and metaphysical physiological experience, metaphysiological experience. To put it out correctly, you must put it in correctly, and that is not the new upside down food pyramid, that they just flipped. They will come up with a hero when we need a hero. They will come up with a solution when we need a solution. These control freaks. So we're gonna have a very real conversation this morning on the psycho channel, the psycho schematics, behavior recognition, pattern recognition. And once you recognize these patterns, you see them at the top, you see them clearly, more what's going on as far as base root programming and design goes. We start to look at that base code, which we arguably, debatably, not really, it is what it is no matter what we feel about it, right? Likely we're finding, because we definitely don't know it all, right? And anyone who does can just go move right on along to some other content, because the number one thing that these control freaks want you to be is an entitled genius. And if you're completely all the way that, it's going to be very, very hard to rattle you out of that false belief that so many people depend on. They really, really, truly do. They depend on this ability to lie to themselves. And through that, they just don't have to take on they don't have to take on the real world as bluntly as the real world is. They get this comfort zone, right? And we've all heard the phrase comfort kills. Well, moving forward, what we're going to see a lot of is burnout. And I'm going to attack this to the nutritional diversity and the metaphysical experiential adversity game, okay? In both of these games combined in this thing we call life, earth, atmosphere, holodeck training module for our souls that we exist in now, right? You're going to see a lot of burnout. You're going to see a lot of hormonal imbalance. You're going to see a lot of mental instability. You're going to see a lot of people who never built discipline, but very much needed. Because the comfort zone, the life of convenience, doesn't give you the baseline discipline that you would need to be sustainable in the realest world there is, nature, right? So human beings who are built to be optimal and have an optimal immune system, have an optimal thought process, have an optimal metaphysical process that includes things like intuition, and who possibly even telepathy. Those kinds of conversations become very common when you get around indigenous people, for example, not just them, but for example, who have believed in that and who have nurtured that sense. And you're right. Skill really is what it is. All of these feelings, skills, abilities can be cultivated. Definitely that intuition one is a huge cultivation, and not a lot of people have. And a lot of people right now are simply suffering no discipline, no metabolic resistance, and no metaphysical metabolic resistance. It's all analytical, right? It goes across. We would like to ideally improve and sharpen the base code, because that's what's going to get recognized from above, as Chris Langan explains eloquently in his TOE. Links below to the science that is behind this stuff, right? Because protein digestion, cellular signaling, hormonal regulation, and in things like collagen peptides, growth related signaling peptides, immune peptides, you can use peptides in incredible clinical emergency cases that were created by the incorrect diet system being, or whatever, something system being performed over time and creating an unnatural issue in the system, the physiological system, the metaphysiological system, the ecological systems, right? So if there's an irregularity that repeats and is unnatural, and remember, some force of intelligence has to maintain that. What we're talking about in simpler terms is truth versus fake, is correct versus incorrect. Now, there in the human social construct and interchange, there is definitely a element of will here, will and intention. If the person has bad intentions, like to mentally trap, enslave, deceive, distract a whole bunch of people so that they can be kept in the gerbil wheel, in the job, in the working modality that serves them. And look, by all means, I have worked plenty of jobs and plenty of contracts, and I exchange my time. I have exchanged my time for money. But obviously, what's best for all of us, right, is to live our passions in a strategic way, to where there's a corporate formation there, and it can interchange with the world, and also build something that creates a bigger set of potential, is more energetic than the job relationship. And we can't continue to use the same terminology and understanding of everything that we were using before. We've really got to push ourselves to have this mental toughness, yet mental openness, to where we can truly, seriously grow, learn, evolve, and help and create a larger sphere of, I'm trying to give natural reference here, but like ripple effect or sphere of influence and assistance that is positive. And this is all seriously, seriously important, because if you were to have the opposite of that, or if you were to, let's go, if you're going to have an opposite of that, where you have this sphere of influence that is negative and damaging to lots of people, well, I'm figuring the intelligent creator of artist of this biological holodeck training module for our soul, what it really is. Look at the quantum physical explanation videos behind this one on the Schematics channel for a complete outlay there. Okay, so let's go into the peptides here for a minute, because this is a perfect example the analytic example for so many other things. What peptides really are is short chain amino acids, and they're produced by your body in protein digestion, cellular signaling, and hormonal regulation, right? So if you take known substances from nature, natural substances from nature, ashwagandha, for example, that known adaptogen that helps regulate hormonal production. It's the king, it's the king of the herbs used in Ayurvedic medicine, 3,000 years, blah, blah, blah. Tons of people sell it, use it, all that, right? And it does the hormonal regulation, and um, yeah, so to supply a wide spectrum of amino acids, support peptide production, improve gut microbiome diversity, enzyme activity, hormonal balance. This is the real leverage, and this is brought on by nutritional diversity, diet prerequisites, okay, and instructions and system and concept, and the strategic elements are right now available. CoQ10, ashwagandha, acai berry here from the Amazon, creatine, excellent pre-workout. All right, get this stuff. Help us out, right? Get this stuff. Keep going. We're actually doing the research. We're actually down here in Central and South America all the time, full time, with our hands on the shovel. Cultivating velociraptors of chickens, the best cattle you've ever had, straight to oligarchs. They know our system, that we have a nutritional diversity diet system that we intentionally do for them, enhancing the ecology, enhancing the agriculture system, enhancing the quality of life for the animal. It's a no-brainer. Why are we so easily deceived into this monoculture stupidity of culture and social culture, monoculture, social culture? Everybody tying a noose around their own neck and wearing a penguin suit and standing in line for the man, right? Time to go back to nature, my friend. Time to accept the hard truths, whether you like them or not, whether you like the city, whether you're not for the adaptation is the greatest measure of intelligence. You came here to get strong, make God proud. That's it. Who you know, if you came here, if you've got all these other self-satisfaction requirements of this existence, you're going to be less served and less satisfied. I'll tell you that much. And but if your intentions, back to that, right, the root, the core, the code, are valiant, are strong, are hormonally enhancing, if that's your code, if your code's in that family of building, now you're simply in the correct modality. You're no longer distracted out of it by all this other stuff. You're eating the nutritional diversity diet. You have the strength and the intuition and the discernment and the willpower to say, no, that is a toxic dose of the substance. I'm not going to eat too much of that, and I'm going to eat what I do eat of that inside the nutritional diversity diet. If you ever shoot a peptide, you should already have that base nutritional diversity diet there, and you'll probably already have that results of advantage or curation that you're looking for already once you've done that. And you're gonna say, oh, look, he's right. I don't even need the peptide. I don't even want the peptide. I'd rather do it the right way and not take shortcuts, which really is just, the word shortcut means big headache that someone else or you is gonna have to redo. There's no point in doing something unless you're doing it right. I really learned this throughout my life a million times, but definitely when I was flipping multi-million dollars worth of properties out there in Philadelphia and doing the best job at it. And I will put links to testimony about that below, because when it's a true story, there's lots of eyewitnesses, right? I want to leave some investigative advice and importances in this dynamic material to help you become the optimal soldier in God's army. That's what we're here to do. You know, you've already found this because the path illuminates as you walk it. I'm hoping, you know what I mean? Other than that, you're one of my psycho hater stalkers that wants to try to pick apart anything I do because you're a loser that wants to see other people lose. And winners who not only want to see everyone around them win, but go to even higher heights than they've never been. That sets, they're like, they realize in their subconscious, let me explain this completely. Not completely, but more than you've ever heard before, okay? When they are triggered, it's because their subconscious recognizes they could have become much better than they did. And because they didn't do the self-work, because they didn't do the self-nutrition, it's because they didn't do the churning for cream, they didn't get to that height. That's highly unfortunate. And they're a loser that wants to see you lose because of that reflection against themselves. The best solution for that is, well, small jealous-minded disease is the most cancerous thing. You're almost, like if I see that in a person, I'm going to stay away from them. A jealous person that is the devil's tool right there. They are a saboteur who is just waiting on that. You're gonna set sail with that. I don't want to have anything to do with anything you're the captain of ever. You know what I mean? That's it. And it will last. And then my judgment on that will last 10 years for sure. I wouldn't be willing to consider doing anything with that person for 10 years because or if I say, I would have to see some significant change or communication, right? And hats off to those people who can do that because they are rare and that's impressive and glorious to see. So I was watching the Sean Ryan podcast where where they're handing this thorn, the real Bethlehem thorn crown back and forth. They're looking at it. They're contemplating the experience and the profoundness of the story and the physical reenactment that's going on that has so much metaphysical significance, so much more metaphysical significance. And after a while, it makes sense when you look at this base code situation that I'm talking about, right? Quantum physics, everything in physical reality was a blueprint, an idea before it met an action and then became a physical, biological, moving, holistic life system, which is a complex system. It's not a simplistic system. Once you can move your mind, your metaphysical being into complex processes, adaptation is the greatest matter of intelligence. So here is a complex system that you can adapt to raise your own conscious Jedi level nature. And if you do it in the correct way and you actually take on the correct diet, because let me tell you, there's plenty of nature buffs out there that have no idea what I'm talking about. This Jungle Keeper guy took millions of dollars in donations for jungle protection. And I'm sure he's doing a certain percentage of that, but you can see that most of it went to advertising himself to be famous. And those of us who can see people like Amber Heard and Erica Kirk from a mile away can also see that this dude has narcissistic personality disorder as well. And he just has an excellent mask. And what I'm talking about is just a clinical mouth sound for caring about self to such a degree that your metaphysics are completely unbalanced You're a fibber, fabricator, deceiver, ill schemer, and yeah, you better turn that around. You better actually now that you got into your position, or whatever justification these kinds of people can make to get to that point. Oh, when I get to that point, I'm gonna. You better. You better do. You better give it all back, man. You better and more, cause you should have never done it that way, right? And that's why you don't have a spirit tip around you. That's why it's just a rocket straight up and a rocket straight down, because you didn't use the complex systems of sustainability and correct construction. It's a castle made of sand, as Jimi Hendrix puts it. And it's unfortunate how many castles made of sand people are willing to make, how many times they're willing to sit there and try to put a square peg in a round hole. How many times they're willing to, and this is all, and a lot of this process is because of ill-intended evil schemers that do understand all these things, but they've decided to be a control freak rather than a cultivator. Now, I would venture to say that someone who's willing to cross the line of injecting for health, and it's just like, if I can take your needles away and take away half your strength and half your ability, that when you could have built all that ability, take it from me, without those needles, without doing that. And then a lot of these guys come online and talk about mental toughness, talk about characters. Like, dude, you see the needle go in your ass. Like, mental tough, that subtracts from your mental toughness. There was one guy online. He was a SEAL. He was a Blackwater. All this stuff. And he says right on the thing, he's like, I'm not gonna say names. I don't want to trash anybody. But you see the mental dependency. What is happening? Not only are you doing something imbalanced and injected, right? Let's cultivate, not inject. Let's really look at this let's take the time and do things step by step the right way. Let's not cut corners and create big problems to solve later, or for somebody else to solve later. Even worse. I mean, what kind of cancer are you? Really? And then a whole bunch of you together? Oh, forget about it. A city. That's a city. And from the space shuttle, that photograph is exactly what cancer looks like in the microscope. This is all analytical. Go into nature to understand everything better, or take it from someone who has, or listen to a regurgitator, diet science expert who's looked at my information, never touched a shovel in their life, and is just repeating everything that I'm saying very well. It's up to you. It's really up to you. I'm glad the information's getting out there. I would venture to say it's a lot of people's jobs to really get to the root of the information, and to really, and we do a paradise retreat down here, guys. There's a person that's running it that is better at the nutritional diversity diet compositions and creations than I am. And we're paying attention to intrinsic values and things that a lot of modern white shirt, sterile, written degree, academic, poisonous dudes that are responsible for the health crisis and the worst health statistics in history, plus the worst ecological health statistics in history brought on by the food making. It all works together, ladies and gentlemen. It's a holistic. And if they can keep us all broken up and monofocused, then that's a good ability to be able to do laser focus in on something. But and it's a balance, right? The other extreme is that good old phrase. a jack of all trades is a master of none. No, you want to be a master of one and have a lot of other abilities, you know. And don't forget nutritionaldiversity.com. Get the Epic Dawn morning program. Don't forget about the morning program, guys. We've got a WhatsApp chat and a morning meeting. There's a new club out of Vegas growing. There's a few groups, you know, of real hardcore, well curated guys. Brandon Angel Fitness on Instagram. You can get a hold of me there. You can look at what the diet looks like. You can look at what kind of training you're able to do off of it. Next level. A lot of people down here think I'm injecting stuff and just lying about it. That's a common move. So many people are injecting stuff and lying about it, aren't they? I'm not injecting anything. I'm not lying about anything either. I'm not willing to do that anymore. I know the error of that. Just like I know the error of the upside down food pyramid and the other upside up food pyramid. Both of those are errors. And clearly there are control freaks that are laughing at us. Not, you know, I wanted to do kind of a science thing. My AK, Snake, I love you guys. ET, Stanton, everybody, Amy, all you guys, everybody, Stone Solutions, Victor, I saw you guys, Cross, Swords, Sabers, but the worldwide network of authentic, real, true God's army, there's, I'm sure, thousands of splinter cells. Now's the time that we group together, that we encourage each other to do things the right way, to avoid the injections. What if China wants to, you know, as this pre-written war that was way pre-written, Albert Pike to Mussolini letter, you can't find it, but you can, I think ChatGPT will tell you what it supposedly had said. Maybe not. But it wrote out. I found about this a lot of times, and when I saw the anti-fascism movement go off the way that it did, and them chase down all the funding for all of this down to these control freaks at the top, you know, Soros and all this stuff. Once I saw that, I was like, whoa, this letter that I wrote is completely true. Look, that is even coming true. And so we can expect, I'm calling it right now, every other thing on that letter has come true. It's been around since the 1800s. It's that a plan or a time machine? I don't know. But I'm calling it right now. Yeah. World War, this slowly but surely we patter around, prepare the control freak devices that did all these crazy ideas. They're going to come. New war, new shift, the next level up and shift of power and control. But there's an opportunity here. There is a grand opportunity here. And listen, people are going to, I mean, America could retake itself. The world wants America to retake itself. You know what I mean? And I don't know who you can depend on really for that right now. Candace Owens, honestly. Hold on, let me check this in. Aha. All right. So yeah, this is the swarm of insects that I'm talking about that's performing this. There's a swarm of these right now. Right the day after the crucifixion of our Lord Jesus Christ. And yeah, that Sean Ryan, you know, science is going to prove religion, no doubt about it. It already has in so many ways. And you know, it's absolutely our calling and duty to, no matter what distractions, wars, dogs barking, and all whatever shit, that's going on in the world today that we maintain, man. If you don't, if they didn't have their strength to get it together until now, God bless their soul. We love them, but now going forward, you are going to see some of the hardest men fall. Going forward, you are going to see some of the most demonic things and be covered up in the most vicious of ways. You know, you're going to see the most insane deceptions. You're going to be like, no way, there's no way that's actually happening. And you slowly but surely, incrementally, society is going to devolve into debaucherous, especially in the city, into debaucherous, hellish, horrid quality of life, and everybody's going to be injecting all kinds of stupid shit in all kinds of stupid ways. There's liabilities everywhere. There's entry points to horrific. Listen, the same threat in peptides as in Peter Pan peanut butter. Seriously, if they want to just jack a whole, they've done this over and over and over. If you watch this stuff that's coming out in the Candace thing, that is really an essential. I'm telling you about an oracle of our time. I know she's popular. I know she's been popular, and I am always saying forget celebrities. But listen, this is important because she's popular and because of the extreme level in which she's telling the truth and the extreme truth telling that she's doing. It's actually seriously impressive, and we all really need to pay close attention to this and care enough to do our little part and fin in that right direction as much as we possibly can and be aligned, okay? And remember that when there was a lot of representation and study in here, like especially I wanted to say this in the last episode, the lotus flowers is everybody uses it for tattoos. It's this big symbol, and it's because it's this incredible representation of spiritual growth and how dynamic that it is and how it's multi-partistic, and you've got to really grow a holistic picture, a holistic understanding that is very, complete and well balanced. And according to Rudolf Steiner, who was my teacher 1000%, not just in the biodynamic agriculture that we're doing, but also in life, in nutrition, and in the development of this lotus flower chakra alignment. And that's what I'm showing you right here. Shoulder feet apart, pick a 6 behind you, the back of the liver, top of the shoulder. You'll notice those are like incredible acupuncture points, but you'll see this is hitting your hips, your knees, your ankle, physical alignment, correct nutritional systems. All of these things go together in this very dynamic, holistic picture that will allow you to see true, be true. It's an investment when you care enough to do all the things. And if you know you're living certain lives and you're unable to remove your commitment and emotional attachment to those liar things, and anything in politics is a liar thing, anything in here's another guy. He was just interviewed on DJ Vlad, but I always listen to his stuff because I really respect him a lot. His name's Nick. He's the Grim Reaper Sniper, and his commentary, he's seen a lot of death. He's taken a lot of lives, and his commentary on the whole situation I thought was extremely accurate. I'll put the link below to that commentary. But basically, listen, these warmongers and deceivers are going to continue to want death. This is a death cult. The real true reality of this is more unbelievable than most of the fiction people make up, right? And the fact that they're making up the fiction, people don't want to, they would rather believe their lies, because to think that those are actual lies, that's huge. Wait, what? These people were all lying to us about all this stuff? and throwing us into these conflicts, all crazy, unjustified, that hurt millions and millions of people. And if we ask them right now to tell us the truth about it, they will lie to our face again. Really? And we entrust them and continue to follow them every day, all stupid after that? No, no, no. We step out. We go to Latin America. We invest in unregulated alternative agriculture that's cheap as nails. We eat the nutritional diversity diet. We build that lotus flower, and Jedi ability, and we get ready because the drones are going to be coming. You can't see that either. And so if you look at our nutritionaldiversity.com agriculture systems, we've got an agriculture drone plan that could provide food for the world and biopower and do all kinds of ecological enhancement, 24 hours a day by human to nature relationship with robotic assistance. We could have this incredibly high dollar department of life instead of just this high dollar war department of destruction and taking life. We could have moved everyone from Gaza to Venezuela and started doing all these agricultures way out in unused jungle all over the place. It wouldn't bother anybody. And we'd be creating this new culture of exportation of freedom and correct nutrition and new Jedi ability everywhere. In fact, if we all just leave the cities right now and set up these encampments all over the globe in sustainable criteria, which are in the complete optimization pamphlet below, link, you do right away. There you go. The control freaks can't, there's no more control. There's no more conflict. There's no more war. Now all there is fingerprint, independent, innovative, incredible little splinter cells of life-oriented communities who have Spartan culture about their, and they're, oh, you just told a lie in here, you little motherfucker. Right, and we're gonna do, right? Oh, you just did a child abuse in here. You are fucking going to the compost, bro. It's like things are dealt with effectively and not imbalancedly. Like there's size limits to management, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? And basically what you have is a completely unmanaged system, and they like it like that at the bottom levels because the control freaks stay in control off of chaos. They're the most slithery. When you play by the golden rule, they're laughing at you, thinking that you are a fool. Ethics, morality, no, we are in a Machiavellian construct, again, that all of us can just simply step outside of. If Machiavelli was here, right here, I guarantee you I'd be slapping him around. He'd be crying like a little sissy. You know what I mean? He can't. That doesn't exist in cowboy land. It doesn't. You know what I mean? Not any cowboy land anybody that I know is in charge of, right? And we know too that we're just gonna keep our tight crew, and we're gonna weed that garden left and right. All right. Don't inject anything from these manufacturers' information, nutrition, or peptides. All right? Let's go from the grand teacher now. Let's make a relationship with nature now. Let's listen to the word of God now, the most strongest, most powerful story that can permeate everything, and the name that brings the most evil spirits way out in the deepest jungles and remote islands to heed. And let's just go ahead and get to it and finish this one up. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this beautiful experience, and all challenges, opportunities to build strength. So we really love these challenges. We're not going to try to inject or eject or anything out of them. We're going to embrace them. We're going to smile. We're going to take this on valiantly and honestly and make you proud. We are going to communicate that reality with our intent, with our actions and intentions and alignment, which you can see, and you will always be able to see everyone in this recorded holodeck training module for our souls that matter so much. We get it. And we only want to hang out with people who get it so we can get it more. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I guess I was trying to say, yeah, at a certain point with a certain level of selfish, deceptive, shitty behavior, there has to be a separation. I certainly hope some of the people that I've witnessed do certain things on this earth are not going to the same place that I have. I haven't done those things, I did these other things. Honesty, valiance, guys, and it's years, and years, as Chris Langan says, to reorient. The Dr. Masaru Emoto water pictures I'm always bringing up, that shows it. But as Chris, likely the actual receptacle and the guarantee that it connects. Well, you want to start now. No lies, no acceptance of lies, all challenges, opportunities to build strength as they come, not procrastinated. You're opening up a black hole that Chase Hughes, Jordan Peterson, Maddie, Anti-Alienation Project can help you understand better than I can. I'm your fellow student. I'm your fellow journeyman. I am not a teacher. I am not a guru. I just care enough to make a channel about this psychological study and finding the truth and being true. Let's go.